It starting now, so don't say anything bad about me because it will be on recording. Okay. Okay. Today should only take about maybe 45 minutes at the most. What we're going to do is go through several different features related to performance monitoring. So as we were going through the previous trainings, we talked about the dashboard screen. So that's macro level performance monitoring. We talked about the charts and graphs, which we call micro level performance monitoring. There's about 4 different reports we're going to go over today, and there's more that we'll go over in the future training on three-dimensional planning. And then at the end, we're actually going to create a public-facing web page using VMSG Public to be able to show the training groups that you guys had created, the training plans. So we'll build a little web page to show you how to do that. That's kind of the coolest part of it. So we save that for the end here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We'll go past our favorite horse here. And first of all, kind of a review, performance management, 3 things. We've been through all the operational planning. You guys did a great job. You got your plans in the system. We're all good there. Today, we're going to talk about the second step is once the plans are up and running, how do we monitor the performance? First thing we're going to talk about is that macro level, the big picture, the dashboard. Then we're going to go into the micro level. Micro levels can also be kind of 2 things. It can be the charts and graphs as well as the reports, because the reports are at a very, very detailed level. And then we're going to go at the end, we're going to go into VMSG Public. And again, where that all comes into play here is down here in the check phase. The check phase, again, is comparing the plan to the actual. Well, performance monitoring gives you the actual. Where are we as of today? Back to the pyramid again, just to kind of review. So the organization is your health department. The groups is the structure of your health department. And the groups is also where the dashboard comes from. So the dashboard is dependent on which group you have selected as to which dashboard you're going to see in here. Each group has a set of services or initiatives, services being current things, initiatives being future programs. And then each service or initiative has a set of goals, each goal a set of objectives, each objective a set of activities. So down at the objective and the activity level is where we do what we call the micro level performance monitoring. So the performance charts at the objective and activity level. We're going to go ahead and use basically the same plan that we've been using, the tobacco cessation plan, just for commonality and the fact we know what the data looks like in there. So we're going to kind of end up doing this. So the next thing is going to be going to the dashboard itself. So let's go back live into the system here. So this is your group's screen. So you can have a dashboard for any of these groups. If you want to have a dashboard for the entire department, giving you the current status of the entire department, you can have that. You can have a dashboard for something like the strategic plan. So how is our strategic plan performing and how's everybody involved with the strategic plan performing? You can go down here to environmental health. So you can have a dashboard for environmental health itself. So depending on what group you have selected as to what you're going to see on the dashboard. Now, as we talked about earlier, when you log in, you are connected to a specific group. So if you're an environmental health person, you're probably going to be default group of environmental health. What that does for you is allow you to not have to navigate anywhere to go to the dashboard screen. So because I know all of the data that's in there, I'm going to go back to our USA Public Health demo group here. And I'm going to go down to community health. So we're going to, again, say for today, I'm the community health director. When I logged in, it took me right to community health, which means I don't have to, there's Stephania, which means I don't have to do anything to get to my dashboard other than click on this dashboard button up here, the traffic light in the top right. It typically takes about 10 to 15 seconds to generate because it's actually collecting together hundreds or thousands of data points in the background to give you the complete status of community health. And not only community health. So up here it's showing me we are looking at USA Public Health, the organization, community health as the group. Now community health, as you may recall, had 2 groups underneath it, tobacco and WIC. So those 2 groups are included as part of the dashboard for community health. And the reason being that the people who run tobacco and WIC probably report to the community health director. So if I'm the community health director, I want to see the status of my entire scope of operation here. First thing, this homepage button, we may have already talked about this, but let's go back and review. The homepage button allows me to set the dashboard as my login homepage. So the current one or the default one is this main menu button up here in the middle, the gray one. The main menu is exactly that. It's the main menu. I can use that one. I can use the reports menu, or I can use this dashboard screen. With a dashboard screen as the default login, comes in handy is if I'm a director and I'm not putting any information in the system, not updating any information, but I do want to use my dashboard for my area of responsibility. What you'll do is you'll make this your default using the homepage. You'll make it your default login homepage. So when you log in, it takes you directly to the dashboard for your area of responsibility. So it's just, logging in is all you have to do to get to your dashboard. No navigating, no clicking, no anything else. So that's one thing. And again, this page, reports menu or main menu can be your home page. And you can switch them back and forth. So I go to the main menu, click that same homepage button. It makes it my homepage next time I log in. Okay, up here, the top left corner, I call the big picture here, the status summary. What we're looking at up here is the number, in this case, activities in each traffic light status. I can also move up to the objectives or the goals, but I'm going to see the number of traffic lights at that level here. So what we're saying is we have 1 red, 3 yellow, 1 green, and 5 gold activities. So a total of 10 activities are showing up under the community health group. Now, the nice thing about this is I can drill down on anything on this page, anywhere down at the bottom or in these traffic lights, which allows me to go right to these, for instance, these 3 activities that are in yellow status are right here. So I don't have to go anywhere else. I just click on those and it's going to take me to these 3 activities. I can go in and say, hey, I need to talk to Fred about, what I need to do to get this thing back on track, or maybe I'm going to change out somebody who's, running this particular activity, whatever it happens to be in there. You can do anything you want. Now I can go back to that dashboard screen one of 2 ways. The back arrow is, kind of like a web browser or anything else. You just kind of go back and back and back. Or I can go back up to the traffic light again. I'm going to go ahead and hit the back arrow here. Now, it does have to recalculate the dashboard screen every time you go back. So you're, kind of sitting in there for another 10, 15 seconds each time. And the reason for that is VMSG dashboard is a multi-user system. So what you're seeing is just your view of the dashboard. Now, there could be hundreds of other users out there inputting data, updating data, things like that. So what you have to do is understand that they could be updating data that would affect your view. So that's why it's going to recalculate the view each time. So you can drill down on anything on this screen. The other thing you see up here is the schedule gauge. Now the schedule gauge is calculated this way. Every activity has a beginning date, an ending date, and a percent complete. Now some of them are calculated, some of them are finite, but bottom line is you have those in there. So let's say today is January, or the beginning of our activity, the start date of our activity is January 1st. The end date of our activity is December 31st. And today is closer than we think to be July 1st. So if it's July 1st, we're exactly halfway through the year. If an activity is only sitting at 40% complete, halfway through the year, it's 10% behind schedule. If it's sitting at 60% complete, halfway through the year, we're 10% ahead of schedule. So I can take that 10% and multiply it by the number of days in my period, in this case, in the year, and say, okay, we are, X number of days ahead of or behind schedule. And what it's doing is taking all 10 of these activities and kind of adding that number together. So some are negative numbers, some are positive numbers. In this case, we're saying overall, we're 24 days ahead of schedule. So that's where that number comes from. And, again, you could drill down on some of these and see that they're behind schedule, and some of them are way ahead of schedule, but aggregately, you're 24 days behind. So that's the first place to look at. Down here at the bottom, we got 3 different views. The first one is my people. So as you recall, at the activity level, we can assign activity teams and team leaders. These are the team leaders that we've assigned to different activities within community health or WIC or tobacco, the 3 groups in there. This first column again is, how long has it been since this person has updated their information? Green is less than 30 days, yellow is 30 to 60, red is over 60 days. Ideally, you'd like to have everybody in the green if possible here. The FTE roll up, again, used maybe during budgeting cycles and stuff. But what this is saying, with all of the FTE assignments we've made at the activity level, William is a 0.65 FTE. You kind of probably want to get him moved up a little bit here to maybe close to a 1.0 FTE. When you get over a 1.0, it turns red, just so you know that you're kind of overloading folks. The lagging column says I have the same calculation we did up here on the schedule gauge is done here. If an activity is calculated to be behind schedule, that same way it's going to show up on here, and it will be color coded as to how far it's behind schedule as well. The days column is just like this schedule gauge up here, but for the individual person. So instead of for the whole community health division, it's for that person. In this case, Diane Cox is 96 days ahead of schedule. Overdue says I have at least, in this case, one activity that the ending date of the activity was before today, and the activity is not yet 100% complete. So it should have been completed, let's say yesterday, and it's not 100% complete. It's going to show up here. And then again, you can see it gets color coded down here as to how far behind schedule it is. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold for that person. So this is a pretty decent snapshot. If you're assigning your people to all the different plans in the system, you can get a good snapshot of the performance of each person. So that's view number one. View number two up here is called groups. And again, what that's going to show me is community health division and the first level subgroups under community health. In this case, would be WIC and tobacco. And here they are. So basically, we're looking at community health, and you can see the indentation in here to show that these are subgroups to community health. And then the same thing the last time it was updated, and the same basic information over here. Then I have a third view, and that is priorities. Priorities is a mapping of the strategic priorities from your strategic plan against everything else in the system. That comes in on our next training, which would be about a month from now, typically after you get some things in the system and that sort of thing. We call three-dimensional planning. And that's the ability to cross-link all the different plans a lot of different ways, and we'll go into the detail on that when we get there. But what this is, these are the strategic priorities down the left column. And again, what we're doing is showing the performance of the strategic priorities against everything else that we're doing in the dashboard out there. It really is a pretty cool tool after you get used to doing it to understand how are we performing against what we've decided to be our strategic plan. Go back here to leaders. Now, up here at the top, my priorities. So again, these are objectives. They're individually selectable. It's more or less a bookmark. So what I'm doing is saying, I want to keep my eye on this particular objective. So every time I go into the dashboard screen, I want to see some specific objectives that I'm concerned about primarily. Typically, again, they're yellows and reds, and typically they're either things you're working on personally or your team members are working on. I can turn these on and off real easily. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to that objective. Let's say, oh, by the way, this green flag down here that you see is what indicates that it's going to show up on your dashboard screen. So you notice the one above it is turned off. It's a gray flag. So if I click that, turn it green, and now I go back to my dashboard, it's going to show up now with two objectives on the dashboard. Now, you'll notice right now that it took me to the objectives that were under the Tobacco 2024 group, which is a subgroup to community health. So when I try to go back, I'm going to get this dialog. It says, do you want to stay on the selected group, tobacco programs, or do you want to go back to where you were? We were at the community health dashboard. So do you want to go back to community health? In this case, we're going to say, let's go back to community health. Otherwise, we'd be creating a dashboard specifically for tobacco and not including WIC and community health in it. So we'll go ahead and go back. And again, it's got to recalculate the dashboard. So that is the macro level performance monitoring, the dashboard screen. And I think as we talked before, that is also available on your phone. So if you guys ever want to play with the mobile app, it's real simple. You go to the same link that you did on your desktop, login.vmsgdashboard.com on your phone web browser. And then from there, you got the same login credentials. So it's going to typically be your first name, last name, and then whatever password you've chosen. Once you get it in a web browser on your phone, it'll probably remember it in there. But the difference here is that you've got three screens versus the one because of screen real estate. So this is that top left corner big picture screen. This is the bottom screen down here that can be either leaders, groups, or priorities. And then this is the My Priorities bookmarks in the top right corner. These little blue arrows you can hit with your finger and just go back and forth between the three screens. So it's pretty easy to get to all three of them. But again, you can do this on your phone versus having to log in. And if you have set on the screen on your desktop, if you have set that home page button to be your login being the dashboard screen. It'll do the same thing on your phone. It'll take you directly to the dashboard screen. Now you may notice as you're logging in, it'll take the extra 10 to 15 seconds to log in because it's calculating the screen in real time in there. So any questions on the dashboard, the macro level?
I don't have any questions. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
No questions from me.
Okay. Okay, let's go on. Next thing we're going to talk about is micro level. So micro level again is down at that objective or activity level. So let's go back into here. I'm going to go to my tobacco group, same one we were working on the other day, and navigate down to tobacco cessation, reduce smoking in high schools, and down to my objectives. And we've seen this screen, but I'm going to go into a lot more detail on the screen now. So the current percent reduction is down here. This is what you're entering through typically the quick update system. What is the current percent reduction over time? Every time you save it, it saves a data point, and that data point is going to be charted. And the chart is right here. So I'll click on that. So it goes back to when we first rolled out the program, August 15th of 2023, we were at a 0% reduction, which you'd expect, right? We're trying to raise it by 25%. And then we ramped up over time, and we got up to our 25%. We capped off at 25%. So that is basically that's the performance chart over time. Now, up at the top, we have a bunch of different options up here. First of all, I've got a date range. So what I can say is if I wanted to just look at 2023, I've got data points up through here for 2023. In here, I can put in 1/1 of 23 and 12/31 of 23, or whatever these dates happen to be in there. And it's going to limit the horizontal chart to just the 2023 date range. And obviously, you can say, I just want to see what happened in 2023 under this program, or what's happening in 2024, whatever it happens to be in there. So you can limit that. Now, when you do that, you got a couple of options here. Raw says, show me every data point that we have. And then you can say, just show me one per day. And that would indicate that you've updated that particular activity or objective more than once a day, or more than once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once a year. Now, a lot of times people will update things on a weekly basis. And maybe what I want to see is just the data points once a month. So what I'm saying is I'm selecting monthly, and if there were multiple data points in that month, it's going to just show me either the last value or the average value for the month. Now, if I've got a chart that should be like this one, should be climbing all the time and not going up and down, this one we're expecting to climb all the time. So if it's climbing all the time, you probably want to see the last value in the month. Now, if we had a chart, if you remember, one of our activities was to do 9 training sessions a month. So that's just going to be kind of coming down here, up and down, up and down, up and down, however many we did. You might at that point in time want to see the average of those data points for the month. So if I've been entering them every week, I might just go in and say, hey, I want to see the average for the month at that point in time. So that's what those two values are about. So I can select any date range I want. I can just say once a year. If I do that, it shows me 2 data points in here, and it's the last value for the year. Or I could say, show me the average value for the year. It looks like it's going to be the same at this point in time. Raw, again, indicates all the data points in here. Next thing we have is this vertical type really isn't relevant to have it up here for now, unless you had multiple types in here, values and percent. In this case, we selected just percent for our objective when we entered in there. So percent will be our default. This one over here, the scale, you'll notice the top end of the scale, it says it's 27%. It's actually 27.5%, because what it does is take the highest value in the chart and multiply it by 1.1 or 110%. So this one is really 27.5%. So that makes the chart look kind of nice, growing and everything. My other option here is 100%. To me, that's not as impressive when you got a little chart down here. It doesn't look like it's growing as well, even though it's exactly the same. Just from a perspective point of view, it doesn't look as good. So I kind of preferred using the auto scale myself, but that's it. So these are the tweaks you can make to the chart, and you can turn them back around, everything else. You can also, if you are a manager level user or an org admin level user, you can save the chart that you set up. So if I wanted to do just 2023 and I put those dates in there and say I want once a month and last value of the month, and then I say I want the auto scale, I hit the save defaults button down here. Now only, again, org admin and manager level users have this button, so they're the only ones who can save it. Here's what happens. When you save it, anybody else who goes into this particular chart is going to see your saved chart. So exactly how you structured it. Now, while they're in there, they can go through and use all of these controls to make it temporarily anything they want it to be. They can make it for 5 years and use 100% scale and whatever they want to do. Again, if they're a manager or an org admin, they can go ahead and save the defaults again. If they're a normal user, they won't have this button. And if they go out of this chart and come back in, it's going to go back to the saved values in there. So that is your micro level chart down here. Now, where do all these data points come from? Well, let's go look at that. I'm going to go back to my objective here. So every time you save a value in here, so you put in 26%, you change the notes, anything, change Steve, whatever you change. Anytime you change something and you hit the save button, it creates a new history record. History records are behind the hourglass here. So what it's going to show you is over a course of time, we have the history records and they're in reverse chronological order. So here's our first data point that was on the left. It says Fred Erickson added this data point in there. It was a green light. It was objective number 1. Here's the objective. There was no notes in there. And it was at, 0% status. So these are the data points. And again, every time you save a data point, if you try to save a duplicate data point, so all the data points, all the data elements are the same, and you try to save it, it's going to say, hey, do you want to save a duplicate record? We'll talk about that in a minute, why you'd want to do that. But in this case, it's just going to save these data points. You can see over here under status, these are the data points, the percentages that we're actually saving up here. Now, let's say I went in and wanted to put historical data in there. The way I do that, and historical usually means before we implemented the VMSG dashboard. So we've been running the tobacco cessation program for a long time, and I've got a lot of past years data that I want to put in the system here. Here's how you go about doing it. Typically, what I ask people to do is take a screenshot of here to save everything that's on here, just so you have it, because you're going to come back to it here. And then you're going to go in and put in the data values, like down here, the percent reduction. Let's say how it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was at 10% reduction 2 years ago. And any notes that you had in there, anything that was different than here, the traffic light or whatever, and then you're going to save it. So now once you've saved it, you've created a history record. You go back to your history records. It'll be on the very top. You're going to select the date. So let's say this was 6/4, I guess, of 24 was the date. And I wanted to make this 8/15 of 22. So right here is the date record. So I go ahead and change this to 8/15 of 22, hit the save button. This record will now move down to the bottom. So I've created a historical record from before we implemented the dashboard. So that's one of the things you can do. Now, again, only manager level users and org admin level users can even see this down here at the bottom. So a normal user can't make any changes to the history file. If they do need changes, then they need to talk to somebody who's a manager or org admin level user, or asked to be promoted to that level in there. The other thing that might happen is if I'm working on this and I'm showing you guys, how to save this and how to update the activities and stuff, I may end up with duplicate records in there by saving multiple times. What I can do is I'll go back to here again. Let's say I have 2 or 3 records that are the same up at the top, which we kind of do almost here, different dates. But what I can do is click again on the date record, hit the red X. It's going to say, do you want to delete that record? Just say yes. So just a way to, if you accidentally create a record that you don't want in there, you can delete it. You can recreate that record and then go back here and set the date to where that record was from, all kinds of things along that line. This function that we're talking about here is used very, very, very seldom. However, there are times when you might be able to use that to put in historical data or to deduplicate data in there. So that, let's see here. Okay, that was macro level performance monitoring. The next thing we're going to talk about, before I go, I'm sorry. That was a micro level performance monitoring. My brain is not working well. Any questions on charts and graphs and micro level?
You guys good? I'm good.
I'm good. Okay, let's go. Reporting. So there's a boatload of reports in the system. We're going to talk about 4 of them today. The reason we're only going to talk about 4 is because there are 3 reports that we'll get into when we go into 3-dimensional planning, and it wouldn't make any sense to go into those until we've gone through that training. So let's go talk about reports. First thing to know, and this is a very, very key factor here. Reports are at one of 2 levels. So let's say, for instance, I have my strategic plan. It is a group level plan. So it's all the way to the top, meaning I've got, services, goals, objectives, activities all the way down there. And if I want to print the entire strategic plan, I need to click on the group itself here. And down here at the bottom, we've talked a little bit about this, but this is what I call the cookie crumb. So a lot of the screens look the same. I'm entering an activity. I have no idea where I am. I can roll my mouse over here and it says, okay, we're on the USA Public Health Strategic Plan for 2020-25. And then over here, we got the service number, goal, objective, and activity. If I have nothing down here in the service or initiative box, when I do the report, it's going to be for the entire group. Now, if I go down a level here and say organizational excellence, and when I roll over down here, it says organizational excellence, when I generate the report, it will not include 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. It'll just include organizational excellence. The reason for that, again, is there's a lot of plans that start at the service initiative level. They're typically smaller plans, like the ones that you guys did for the training group. They start there. So if you wanted to do just your plan, you're going to do it that way. So let's go back down to our training or our tobacco group again. So this time, again, remember I have 3 initiatives under here. For today, let's just say we want to do just the tobacco cessation and not secondhand smoke and tobacco initiation prevention. So I've selected that. Again, it shows up down here in the cookie crumb. I'm going to go up to my reports menu, the blue one up here in the top right. And the first report we're going to talk about is the operational plan report. If there's any report you're going to remember, it's going to be this one because you're going to use it more times than anything else by a bunch, like 90%. I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to do is generate the report for the tobacco program here. And there it is. Okay, so this is the tobacco program. You see the group, Tobacco 2024, the initiative, tobacco cessation, the goal. Anything in blue, again, is notes. The objective, you see the red data sources that can be at the goal, objective, or activity level, traffic light status, everything you want to know but we're afraid to ask is in this report. But you'll also notice we don't have the other initiatives down here because I had selected the tobacco cessation only here. Now, there's a bunch of tweaks you can do on these reports as well. The first one is a date range. So now down here in the activities, you'll see that we have an ending date for every activity. Now the QA, the quality assurance activities, it's a calculated ending date based on the beginning date and the frequency. So if it's May 1 of 24 is the beginning date and the frequency is 1 month, then the end of May is going to be the calculated ending date. So it's still in there. You just don't necessarily see it in here. But if I wanted to say, let's say I wanted to see just the activities that were supposed to have been completed in May, I can go in on here. There's 2 date fields in there. I'll put in May 1 through May 31st, and then it's going to filter everything else out except activities that were in the month of May. And that's, if you think about it, I got a huge list of activities that I'm responsible for in the strategic plan or whatever. And I just want to know, what was I tasked with doing last month? There you go. That'll find it real easily here. The other thing you can do is say, hey, I want to know, what am I supposed to be focusing on in June? So same thing, you do June 1 through June 30th, and you've got that in there. So the date always acts on the ending date of the activity. Now, the next thing is documents. If I click on this, it's going to show me every document that's attached anywhere in the system. The documents always show up in green. So it says we have 1 document, the tobacco cessation plan, attached at the initiative level. So the document always shows up right under the planning element. We have this CHA partner list showing up under the goal here. If I scroll down further under this objective, you see we have 2 documents. When the documents are more than 1, it puts a semicolon in between them so you can have as many as you want. It'll line wrap and everything else. You can have literally hundreds of documents in there. And then you see one down here at the activity level. So you can have documents attached anywhere in the system. Now, where that really comes in handy is when you're using the accreditation or reaccreditation plan and you're using it to store all of your documents, typically at the objective level on the measures. You have all your documents in there. You can generate this list, hit the documents. It's going to show you every document that's attached everywhere down there. And if you're doing it just at the objective level, I can go up here on the right and say, I just want to see objectives, not activities. So there we are. So now I'm just looking at the objective level so I can see where all the documents are attached at the objective. Give me a little bit better view into there, if you will. The next thing we have is let's go back to activities here, is this rows and hide. So the rows means show me the notes underneath the row that they belong to. So whether it's an objective or activity or whatever, or if I say hide, basically this all does is take everything in blue and hide it. Over time, you'll find that you could have lots and lots and lots of notes in a plan. So you might have pages of notes, and when you're showing somebody the plan, it just doesn't look, like, oh, let me skip over these notes and show you the next activity or whatever. So you can just hide the notes, basically, is all that does in there. Now I'm going to skip over to this top right. You saw what I just did with it. What level do I want to look at in here? So I can look at the service level. So it's just going to show me, in this case, the initiative, tobacco cessation. I can say service and goals. So if I go down here, then you see we have the 3 goals that are underneath there. I can go down to objectives and activities. The reason I showed you this before I showed you the status drop down is because the status drop down says, show me only, let's say down here, if I just want to see, okay, let's say I have a strategic plan with 200 activities in it. Instead of scrolling down and looking, I can just say, just show me the activities that have a red status here. And when I do that, it's going to filter out every activity, except I think there's just one down there with a red traffic light on it. And there it is. Yep. So you've got all the goals, objectives, and everything for the context, but you've got the activity with the red traffic light down there. So this filter acts upon the level that you've selected over here. So I could say goals, and I just want to see the goals. Maybe I could just say yellow goals. It's going to show this one goal up there. Or objectives. So I can say yellow objectives. That's going to show the one objective that's yellow. So I can filter on anything I want. The default is all, so it's going to show me all of the different traffic lights in here. So I can filter the report. Now, those are the tweaks that you can make on the report. To save the report or to print the report is this button down here in the bottom right. Now, something that we designed into the system is because a lot of people like to take something like this and put it up on a website. So the report itself is actually in an HTML file. VMSG report.htm is the default name. You can change that anywhere you want to. But that is an HTML file or a web file, which means it's a web page in itself. So I'm going to go ahead and save that to my desktop here for now. And we'll just leave it at VMSG report.htm, save that. It's going to appear up here in a second when it downloads, and I'll just open that up. So here's the report, and it's exactly, this is a web page. So if you had a report of something that you wanted to post on your web page, it's all done for you. You don't have to do anything else. Grab this file, have your IT folks put it up on your web page, and there you go. That's number one. Now, once you've got the report here, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Number one, you might want to print it or PDF it. So that's the browser function up here. Click on that, go down here to print. Print, you can say print to a printer, print to a PDF. Typically, my personal preference is when I'm printing a report, I like to go landscape mode and narrow margins because it gets more of it on there. It looks a lot like this in here. So when you're printing PDF or printing to a printer, go ahead and flip over to those. You don't have to. It'll all compress and fit on there, but it doesn't look quite as good typically. Now, the other thing that some people like to do is actually take this report and put it into a Word document so they can tweak it and highlight it with yellow and that kind of stuff. To do that, it's real easy. You're just going to click on the report anywhere. You're going to hit Control A or right click and select all if you want to. Control A is select all. Then I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. So I've copied the entire report into my buffer. Then I'm going to go open a Word document. Typically, again, I'm going to flip it to landscape mode with narrow margins and then Control V to paste it in there. Now I've got an identical report. It'll look exactly like this because HTML formatting and Word formatting are pretty much identical. So it's going to look just like this in my Word document. But when it's in a Word document, then I can go in here and, highlight this particular goal as yellow, or do kind of anything I want to do with it, add more notes in there, whatever you want to do. So those are kind of the things that you can do. It's a web page to start with. You can print it, you can PDF it, you can put it into Word, probably a lot of other things you can think of to do with it over time. But that's how you get the reports. All the reports are the same as to how they come out of the system. It's this button on the bottom right corner here. So that is the primary report. If you remember anything, remember the operational plan report. The next report we're going to talk about is the team lead report. That would be the second most used report. What that allows you to do, I'm going to go back here for a second, go to community health, and then go to the team lead report. The team lead report is show me a report everywhere where Andrea Schoen is attached to an activity or an objective. So here's the things we have down at the bottom. Individual means the person selected up here, in this case, Andrea. Group means everybody within the community health division group that I've selected up here. So Diane, Fred, and Andrea will all show up on the report. All means show me the entire department. So if I have 100 people in the department, everybody who's in the department is going to be showing up on a report with their name attached to specific activities and such. So for now, I'm going to say Andrea is my individual. Over here in the bottom right, I can say, do I want to see Andrea's activities or her objectives? So for now, we're just going to go ahead and say objectives. So what I'm showing is every place Andrea has been assigned as the objective lead. I got two choices. My magnifying glass says, give me an editable screen so I can actually go in and change these if I want to, or give me a report, just like the other reports that you've seen. Let's give you an editable screen here. So these are the objectives that you can see Andrea is the objective lead on all of these. So these are the objectives that Andrea is assigned as the lead. A lot of things you can do with this. You might just want to be able to go in. If I'm Andrea, I might just want to go in here and look at these and say, yep, everything looks good. Or maybe Andrea's leaving the organization, she's retiring, and you want to put somebody else in there. If it's different people for each of these, then you kind of have to use this methodology. Just go through each one and select the new person down here. If it's all the same person, so you're hiring somebody to replace Andrea, just let me know. I got a tool I can push all that down for you in one fell swoop. Pretty easy. So that is the objective lead. Now, when I get to the activity lead over here, as you recall, in the activities, you can either be an activity lead or a team member. If you're a lead, you're also a team member. But if I just want to say they're a team member and not a lead, I can select this one. If I want to say whether they're a team member or a team leader, I want them on the report. Or I just want to see where Andrea, the individual, is the team lead at the activity level. And again, I got the report version and I've got the edit version here. So these are all of the activities that Andrea has been scheduled for. And again, you can see down. Oh, you know what? I got Diane instead of Andrea. Sorry about that. I picked the wrong person. So these are Diane's activities that she's been scheduled for. And again, you can update the activities. You can go down here and change, Diane's retiring. You can change her out, put Andrea in there or whatever it happens to be in there. Again, that's what I did. So, and the other thing you can do is generate a report. So I want to see a report for all of the activities that Andrea is attached to here. What I like to think about is for this particular report, if I'm the community health director and I have, let's say, monthly one-on-one meetings with my team members, if I've got the people assigned to what they should be doing in the system here, I can generate this report and I give them a copy and I have a copy and we just kind of walk through the report and say, here's all the things that, it looks like you're involved in. Are there any updates in here we need to know about? Is there any help that you need to get some of these things accomplished moving forward in here? So this is the report, and it's saying the report is for team leader or team member Andrea Schoen, gives you the FTE values, current FTE values, and then you scroll down here and you've got all of the activities and all the status of everything that you want to know, but we're afraid to ask in there. So this is why, again, print off this report. You have it for your meetings. It just gives you kind of a finite point to refer to in here. Again, you can do this for the objectives as well. So same thing. That was report number 2. So those are the 2 most used report. The next one we're going to talk about are partners. So you've got a couple of partner reports. Number 1 is I just want to see my partners here. So this is the list of the partner organizations. So we got VMSG dashboard as one of our partners here. I got a couple of choices over here when I actually generate the report. Number one is put the selected partner only. Well, that means just VMSG dashboard. I want to say no, I want to see them all. I'm going to go say no. Print contacts. So the people who are attached to the partners, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And then details. Details means email addresses, phone numbers, that sort of thing. I'll go ahead and say yes. And then I'm going to generate the report here. And as all it is just a listing of all of our partner organizations and the contacts and the details and all that kind of stuff in there. Again, where this might come in as handy is after you get dozens of partners in there and you kind of go scroll through and say, oops, Joe's car seat's not working with us anymore. They went out of business or quit doing it, whatever it happens to be in there. So it just gives you the ability to scan what you're doing. The last report we'll talk about today is the partner activities report. So as you may recall, down at the bottom left of the activity screen, there is the internal team and lead, and then there's the external partners. What I'm doing here is saying I want to see every activity that, in this case, VMSG dashboard is attached to, or specifically Fred Erickson only at VMSG dashboard is attached to. So I could have, 5 different names down here, and I just want to see the stuff Fred is attached to. If I use, and we're going to see the same screens you just saw, so I won't worry about that. But the partner search, again, is an editable screen that you can go into and change out those partners. So, Joe's car seat's no longer here. We're moving them all over to Andrea's car seat, whatever it happens to be. But if I do it on this side, it's going to be for the partner organization in whole. So if I had 10 contacts, it's going to include all of those contacts over here. Again, same thing in a report format. Over here on the right, this partner contact search says just where Fred Erickson is attached. So if I had 5 other contacts within VMSG dashboard down here, it wouldn't include those. It would just include Fred. So the left side is the organization. The right side is the individual person. And again, I think of the idea of having maybe a quarterly partner meeting where I'm going to get together with the partners one-on-one and talk about what we're doing together, what else we could be doing together, status of the stuff we're working on. So again, you can generate the report, sit across the table and talk through that. So that is reporting. Those are the 4 we're going to talk about. The ones we're not going to talk about today because, again, they're related to the 3D planning is the category tag report, the categorization report, and the categories report. So those 3, when we get into the next training, typically we give you about a month to get buried in the system for a while, get some plans in there. The 3D planning then makes a whole lot more sense as we're interlinking plans in there. But we'll talk about those next time. Any questions on the reports?
Any questions, you all? So I'm going to be working with you guys to get some plans in there. And so Fred will just schedule with Andrea to do the next training in a bit.
Yeah, typically it's a month, but you can do it anytime you want to. Typically you got like your strategic plan and things like that in there. Then the 3D planning will make a lot of sense to you.
Oh, okay. It might be a little bit then because we're starting on the strategic plan on Friday.
Okay. Well, any plan that you have in there will work fine. I just want to.
Yeah, we have the.
Yeah, relative to your.
Sean, yeah, CHIP and housing, and then we're going to put the behavioral health study recommendations. So we have several things that we can get in there. Yeah, and I'll talk to Sam about some of the
I'll
housing
make this
stuff.
offer to you as you get those plans. If you've got them, in a Word document, a PDF, and you need a little help getting started, send them my way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll get them going for you, and then we can pop open a GoToMeeting, and I'll just kind of walk through. Here's how you finish it. Once you get it started, and you figure out, what piece goes where. Literally, it's an hour to get those plans in there and get them all set up.
Oh, that sounds really great. Yeah, I will reach out. So we'll regroup as a team. We'll let you know. Thank you for walking us through this. I know we're a little wide-eyed because we haven't done it yet.
Okay, we're going to go through one more thing, and that is the cool part here, and that is
fun.
VMSG Public. Yes. So VMSG Public is the ability to create public-facing web pages. I'm going to go back to your Walla Walla. Walla, okay. And I'm going to go down to the training group here. So what I'm going to do is generate a VMSD Public web page for the training group with the 2 plans that you guys put in there. You can generate what we call an indicator row for a web page at any level. So I can do it at the group level, service initiative, goal, objective, and activity. So we're going to start out with the training group. To do that, you push this little button right here with the three faces on it, the public. And then you select what level do I want to summarize. So I'm summarizing the traffic lights at the goal, objective, or activity level. For now, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the activity level, and I'll save that. What it's going to do is generate this, what we call an indicator row, which is web pages are made up of rows, indicator rows. This is indicator row 1. So this is for the VMSG training sandbox. And when I roll over, you see we have 2 gold, 2 yellow, and 4 green, and we're 51 days ahead of schedule. So yeah, we like that. Let's go ahead and save that row. So now we have the first indicator row up here. Now let's go back to our services or initiatives, and let's generate a row for the hydration program. Again, same button, same level activities, save that. It's going to generate the second row for us here. There it is. So now we have 1 of each, yellow and green, and we're 16 days ahead of schedule. I'll save that. Now go back to service initiatives again. Infectious disease, again, generate the row, save that. 1 and 1 and 2 days behind schedule. So that's in a week. By the way, we can go all the way down to the activity level if you want to. When you get down to the objective and activity level, you can actually, you have a choice of the pie chart or the micro level line chart, a miniature version of that. So you can get all kinds of cool stuff on here. But for now, we're going to say, okay, these are the 3 rows we want on our web page. Let's go ahead and export them to the web page, which is this little export button down here in the bottom right. I'll do that. And here's what our web page is going to look like. So it's going to have the training sandbox. Under the training sandbox, it's going to have the initiative of Hydration 2024, the initiative of infectious disease, and you see all 3 of them in there. Think about this. Think about your strategic plan once you get it all in here. The top row would be the entire strategic plan. So all of the traffic lights in the strategic plan and our schedule gauge. And then each of these rows would be one of the strategic initiatives. You'll have somewhere between 3 and 7 typically strategic initiatives. So what you're doing is saying the whole plan looks really good. It's mostly green and gold. And then as I start breaking down, you can get down to see which initiatives are on schedule, ahead of schedule, behind schedule, whatever it is. Something like this is really nice if you need to give it to somebody who doesn't care about the details but wants to know the status. So now that we have this up here and we say, yeah, we like this, let's go ahead and generate the web page. So here's my description. I'm going to call this the Walla Walla training page, and I'll go ahead and save that. So now I have that in there. This is the link. I just click on it, and then I'm going to copy that link, Control C I use, and I'm going to open a new browser window here, paste it in there, Control V, and there it is. So that's all it takes to create that web page. This link stays consistent. So if you update the information behind it, you can keep this link. So, your IT folks put it up on your website for you so people can see the status of accreditation, your strategic plan, your chip, whatever it is, put it up there. Then you can just go through the same exact process we did. It gives you the option to overwrite the web page here. In this case, you'll overwrite this link so you keep the same link. You can also just copy this link, put it in an email, and send it out maybe to the board. Maybe they want to see the status of the, not in this case, probably not the training plan, but your strategic plan, your chip, or whatever. So it's real easy. That's all it takes to create the web page. It is super simple to do, and you can go as deep as you want to on this thing. Now, you'll notice over here at the left, you've got some text, and it's basically the pyramid. So we've got the training sandbox, which was the group, right? Underneath that, we have the initiative. If I go down and down and down, I'll get all the way down to the activity, and I'll have a whole boatload of text over here. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to have all that text. You may not even want to have training sandbox in here. You don't use this function often, but I just wanted to introduce it to you in case you do want to get in there and play with these on the left after you build a web page. So let's talk about that. On the main menu, down here at the bottom, we have VMSG Public, Manage Indicator Rows, or Manage Web Pages. So let's go to Manage Indicator Rows. So these are the 3 rows that we had. One of the things I could do if I wanted to flip-flop the order of these last 2, so putting infectious disease ahead of the, what was the other one, hydration, this sort order right here takes care of that. So you notice there's 10 in between. So if I wanted to, I can just say, let's make this 15 and save it. And boom, it moves up. So that's how you can change the order. Now you'll probably notice down here when you look at the text, it's kind of crazy looking. If you're familiar with HTML, the web language, these are web tags over here, HTML tags. So what you're doing is you're changing the font, you're changing the color, you're changing the size, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that though. You can just go in here. Let's say we want to have just the infectious disease journal club as the text in there. We don't want to have any of the other stuff. I could just erase everything not there, delete, and then save it. And then this is my preview button here. So now instead of all that, oops, I destroyed it. What did I do here? Oh, I got the tag over here. Sorry. I didn't finish it. There it is. Okay, so now I've just taken that text out. I'm going to walk you through 4 HTML tags that we use if you want to go. Again, you don't have to do any of this stuff. Some people like to go in and tweak it around, change sizes, bold, that sort of thing. So let's talk about that. Okay, so here's the ones that we use, in the system here. The first one you saw was font. So it's just like in Word, you got a bunch of different fonts. You can put any of them in here that you want. Arial font, size 2. I think size goes from 1 to 7. 7 is a really, really big font. Color, you can put navy, red, blue, dark blue, light blue, whatever you want to put. It'll find a color. By the way, if you're really familiar with HTML, there's also 6-digit tags that you can put in there. So #0000, I think is black. You can put all that in there. And then where it says text here, this is the text that we're actually modifying. So we have the open bracket, the font codes in here, the close bracket, the text we're working on, and then we have a close tag, they call it, which is the / font here. And then the text is going to look like this. So all of this makes this text look like this. You can bold the text very easily, putting a bracket bold, a bracket / bold. Then you got bold text in there. Same thing with italics. Put the I and the /I after it. You end up with italic text. These can be combined, by the way. So I could put the /I at the end and the I at the beginning, and I'll have bold italic text. And then line breaks, just carriage returns. And you can put as many of these. There's no close tag on a carriage return, but you can put as many in a row as you want. So if I put 5 of them in a row, it's going to have 5 vertical line breaks. Now, if you really want to get cool, I've had some clients who really got into this pretty heavily. You can use any HTML tags in the world in there. So you can actually build a little web page on that left side. And what we had a client do is do their strategic plan in there. And on the left side of the top, it says, for detail, click here. And the link was to that. Remember the report we said was an HTML web page? It was a link to that report. So it popped open the entire report in a new web page off of the link. So you can do that. It's real easy to do. You can embed graphics in there. You can do all kinds of stuff. Again, most people will never use this stuff, but just wanted to let you know that it is, in fact, available there. So that was your Wednesday drink out of a fire hose.
All right. Well, I think we're good. You've got this recorded so we can watch it again.
Yep.
Thank you. And yeah, we'll reach out.
And please do. Like I say, if you got any plans already that you want to get started, just pop them over my way. I'll get them started for you. And then I'll probably typically send you an email that says, here's what I did. And to finish it up, do this. And if you want to have a go-to-meeting, we can do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I will send you a link to this recording.
Awesome. Thanks, Fred. Bye.
Bye-bye.